A 28-year-old software tester in Chicago earns around $78,000 a year. After taxes, health insurance, and retirement deductions, his monthly take-home pay is roughly $4,800. His rent is $1,850. His car payment is $540. Insurance adds another $210. Student loans take $320. Subscriptions, groceries, coffee, eating out, and the occasional weekend trip quietly absorb another $1,200. By the end of the month, there's usually a few $100s left, sometimes less. And from the outside, his life looks financially stable. He has a decent salary, a modern apartment, a newer car, career path, but financially he's standing completely still. Now imagine that same pattern repeated for 30 years. Not poverty, not disaster, just expensive normality. And that's the uncomfortable part. Because for most middle-class people in America and Europe, becoming financially wealthy isn't usually destroyed by one catastrophic mistake. It's destroyed slowly by a lifestyle that feels reasonable. The strange thing about money is that people often think wealth comes from intensity. Working harder, grinding longer, finding some hidden investment trick. But in reality, million-dollar outcomes are often created by extremely boring behavior repeated consistently for a very long time. And most people never experience that compounding because their financial life becomes too heavy too early. A couple in London buys a house slightly above their comfort zone because mortgage rates still seem manageable. A recent graduate in Toronto leases a luxury SUV because everyone at work drives something similar. A 25-year-old consultant in Frankfurt upgrades apartments after their first promotion because they finally feel like they've made it. None of these decisions sound irrational individually. That's what makes the system so effective. Modern consumer culture rarely asks people to become rich. It asks them to look rich. There's a difference. And financially, the gap between those two lifestyles becomes enormous over time. Take a simple example. Imagine someone invests $20,000 at age 30 into a broad index fund averaging around 10% annually. No trading. No stock-picking obsession. No crypto predictions. Just patient compounding. At 10%, that money becomes roughly this over time. A equals 20,000. 1.10. Carat 40. After about 40 years, it crosses the $1 million mark. Not because the person was extraordinary. Not because they worked 18-hour days. Not because they discovered a secret investment loophole. But because time quietly did most of the work. And this is the part most people psychologically struggle to accept. Human beings are terrible at valuing slow rewards. The brain naturally prioritizes immediate emotional comfort over distant mathematical benefit. A new car feels real today. A larger apartment feels real today. Vacations, upgrades, status purchases, convenience spending, all of it produces instant emotional feedback. Compounding does not. Compounding is invisible for years. In the beginning, wealth creation feels almost disappointingly slow. The first few years barely seem meaningful. That's why many people abandon the process early. They assume nothing is happening. But compounding behaves strangely. The later years matter disproportionately more than the early ones. A portfolio might take decades to reach the first few $100,000. Then suddenly the final growth accelerates dramatically. Not because the investor became smarter, but because the mathematics became larger. And yet most financial advice online completely ignores the psychological side of this. People are told to invest more while living inside economic systems specifically engineered to encourage constant spending. Every app competes for attention. Every platform monetizes insecurity. Every advertisement quietly suggests your current life is slightly incomplete. And after enough exposure, people stop evaluating purchases rationally. They evaluate them socially. Will this make me feel successful? Will I appear behind without it? Is this what people at my age are supposed to have? That mindset creates an expensive life long before it creates a wealthy one. Financially intelligent people often behave differently in ways that appear unimpressive from the outside. They delay lifestyle inflation longer. They become less emotionally reactive to status pressure. They understand that income alone rarely creates wealth. The gap between earnings and spending does. And more importantly, they understand that money invested early behaves differently than money invested later. Someone who waits until 45 to begin seriously investing usually has to contribute aggressively. Someone who starts at 25 often allows time to carry most of the burden. That's the hidden advantage. Not genius, not hustle culture, just mathematical patience. And ironically, this approach often looks lazy compared to modern productivity culture. There's no constant excitement, no dramatic trading screens, no rise and grind performance. Mostly, it looks like ordinary people consistently avoiding financial self-sabotage. That's why turning $20,000 into $1 million without working hard is technically possible. Because the hard part was never the investing mechanics. The hard part is resisting the lifestyle pressures that quietly prevent compounding from ever beginning. And for many people, that realization comes very late. Sometimes after decades of high income with surprisingly little net worth. Not because they failed professionally, but because they confused earning well with building wealth. Those are not the same thing. Wealth is often quieter than people expect, less visible, less performative, and usually far slower. But financially, slow can become incredibly powerful when enough years are attached to it. If you enjoyed this kind of calm, reality-based financial analysis, you can subscribe for more.